everyone, and welcome to The Apex. This week, we're thrilled to host Max Girado. With over 20 years of experience as a car specialist and auctioneer, Max is a seasoned professional at the very heart of the collectible car scene. Starting in the late 90s at Bonhams and Cars Europe, in 2006, he took on a senior position in auctioneering as managing director and motorcar specialist at RM Sotheby's. In 2016, he struck out on his own and founded Girado & Company, which from showrooms in London and Milan specializes in advising on, sourcing and selling some of the most desirable vehicles in the world to a global client base. Max, it's great to have you along today.
It's good to have, good to be talking to all of you.
So you spent your professional life in and around some of the world's most desirable cars. How did you get interested in them in the first place? And what was your first ownership experience?
Well, I guess it's a family thing. Often it is, right? I grew up in Southeast Asia, so there wasn't very many cars around when I was small. But my family is Italian, and my father, as a true Italian young man in the 60s, had a passion for rallying and did some rallying himself. I mean, nothing high level in a Fiat 500 and an 850 coupe. So nothing.
Bad start.
That's not a bad start, I suppose. So he had that passion for cars, and it just really transmitted it down to me. So growing up in Southeast Asia until the age of 12, our cars were limited to what model pickup truck would we have, and what tires to put on it for the flood season in Indonesia. There was no sort of E-types or anything like that. But yeah, moved back to Europe, and then we were able to have sort of more cars around. But really, it's a family thing. It's a passion that was transmitted down to me from my father.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you eventually found yourself at RM Sotheby's and spent quite a bit of time there. And then in 2016, you left to found Girado & Company. So what prompted that move, and what do you think drives a successful specialist dealership like yours?
Well, I had 10 years at RM Sotheby's, and I absolutely loved it. It was sort of 10 of the best years of some of the best years of my life at the time. I would do it all again. It was fantastic. The team, the people, but it just decided that it was time to do something on my own. You only live once, and I wanted to try and take a different spin. Still in the cars, I would never leave the car world because that's what I love. But I wanted to try and do something on my own. I think it was just always in the back of my mind. One day I'd branch out and do my own thing. And you know what? I stayed at RM for 10 years because I loved it so much. That's why. And there was a number of factors in my life. My dad had always said to me that he should have left his business, which was in the pharmaceutical industry, nothing to do with cars, and started his own business sooner. And then he passed away very, very suddenly. And I thought to myself, you know what? Sometimes you just have to get on and do it. And I wanted to do things a bit more differently, or RM was going down the route of a lot of cars, like a huge machine. And there's two things that I love. I love cars, and I love people. So I wanted to have more time to dedicate to the cars and more time to dedicate to the people.
So is that what really? Is that what drives Girado & Company, the people? So just on the point of what drives a successful dealership like yours, it's that more personal collection that people have between the cars. Exactly
right. So that was the whole objective is to focus on getting to know the cars that we sell. Because you've got, because we deal with less cars than I'm comparing to RM, where we had auctions of, say, 100 cars every sale, and it was one maybe every month. You've got a lot more time to dedicate to each car that we sell. So we get to know them better, more research in them, which is for us is a pleasure because we love it. So that's was really important to me. And also because we deal with fewer clients, we're able to dedicate more time to each individual client and really offer it a bit more of a tailored service, a bit more of a bespoke service. Get to know your clients and get to know what they want and have real relationships. Less is more.
Speaking of the types of customer you like working with, do you prefer the more experienced niche collector looking for that jewel in the crown, or maybe the first timer who wants to be guided? What kind of criteria do you keep in mind, and how does your approach differ for these of customers?
Oh, absolutely, it's completely different, and that's the best bit of my job is that we deal with so many different clients and from all over the world. That's great. Like we have clients that are in Greece, in Germany, France, obviously in England, in America, in South America, in Asia, Malaysia, which is that's fantastic. That in itself is great. And there is no real rule, because the wonderful thing about cars is that it brings people together from completely different backgrounds. One day you might be talking to, the guy that has had his cars for 50 years and it's the most prized possession. And the next day you might be talking to the self-made man that's just floated his company for however many millions or billions. So it's really great to talk to all these different people, and everyone has different expectations. Everyone has different needs. It's great fun to accompany someone or to guide someone through the buying process. So to start with one car, which direction you want to go in.
Sort of matching the right car to that person, even if it's something they might not know about.
I come into the office and I always say to the team here, well, all we're doing is connecting dots. There's loads of dots out there, and we just need to find, how to connect the right car with the right person, and to make sure that it's the right. It's really, I say, right car to right person, not so much so that it sells, more because I want to make sure we get the car that person's going to enjoy and that fits in the collection and that he's going to be happy with. That's the main objective, isn't it? And if you do that, then they come back for more.
That's right. So I've heard you say before, I think I've read, where the advice you always give to prospective collectors is to buy what they like and buy the best they can afford. And why is that important?
I mean, you're absolutely right. So always buy what you like. And you buy what you like, because I'm a firm believer that the car shouldn't be, I buy it because it's cheap and because it's an investment. I mean, I think a car is something that you should enjoy. You should open your garage, and when you open the garage, if you have one car or 10 cars, I think there's nothing better to think, because I do it. I've got a few cars, and I do it, and I think, God, this is my car. I love it, and I'm so happy. As opposed to, oh, look at that, I bought that really cheap. Like that's it's. And if you buy what you love, you will enjoy owning it, and you will buy more cars and get more pleasure out of them. And always buy the best you can afford, whether it's a Fiat 500, then buy the best one, or whether it's a Ferrari short wheelbase, buy the best one you can afford. Because and I know it's more expensive when you go in, and I have this all the time. And people say to me, "Oh, Max, easy for you to say. It's not your money." Fair enough. However, and the best in whatever category is always going to be more expensive. But when you come to sell it, it's always going to be easier to sell, and also it's always going to be worth more money than let's say the average version, or the one that's got a problem, or the one that was cheaper for a reason. If it was cheaper, it's generally for a reason. You never go wrong buying the very best one. Never.
And so moving on to this scene in general, do you think the buoyancy in classic car prices in recent years, so I'm thinking, well publicized examples like 250 GTOs going for what to the normal person it seems to be crazy money, and there seems to be a kind of lack of opportunity to get that oily rag experience that I think some traditional owners had. Do you think that affects the longevity of the car collecting culture? Because some people would say that a younger demographic, and I'm speaking generally, looking to get into classic cars is faced with something of an uphill climb.
Are they faced with an uphill climb? I mean, look, for sure, the fact that the cars are so valuable, that means that the younger generation are going to struggle to get into, the ones that a 250 GTO or a short wheelbase, because, but to be honest with you, most people are going to struggle to get into because not everyone has $10 million to go and spend on a short wheelbase Berlinetta. So yes, it appeals to the younger generation, but also appeals sort of a little bit across the board. But the great thing is that there are loads of collectible cars, classic cars, different niches. So the young guys, the same way, I speak to the older generation, and how many stories I get of I bought that short wheelbase for £50,000 when
yes.
nobody wanted it, or the stories of I almost swapped my GTO for a brand new E-Type because the GTO is just a uncomfortable car, and I wanted something that I could drive. So there was a time in the 70s when these cars weren't worth very much. However, at that time it was the cars from the 30s that were the classic cars, and they and they're the ones that were sort of probably unobtainable because they were so expensive for the young guys. So I think it's sort of history repeating itself. The younger generation will buy a Subaru today, a WRX road car or a two-door Subaru because that's obtainable, but it'll probably go up in value. And then as you have that and you progress, when you get older, you can buy the cars that you wanted.
Yeah, I was going to say that it seems that for a younger demographic, things like classic Alfa Romeos are now sort of, I see a lot of stuff on social media about people, it's now their new dream car, and it's quite interesting to see how those expectations have shifted.
Yeah.
Just moving on to some of your auctioneering experience. So I read somewhere that in your time at RM Europe, you presided, and this is just some statistics here, over 80 international auctions, grossing around $1.5 billion in sales. You've sold 9 of the 20 most valuable cars ever sold at auction, and have also settled about $250 million worth of private treaty sales. So in amongst all of that, we know great cars usually come with great stories. So do you have any stories you could share with us of your favorite auctioneering or ownership tales?
I can tell you, what, one of my favorite, I'll tell you 2 favorite auctioneering moments. One of them, I thought I was even quite impressed with myself. I'll never forget this. I was selling a Seata, a little Seata Barchetta, and the bidding was going on. It was at Amelia Island. I'm on the rostrum. This is like and in America, it's very common that the cars get driven up on the rostrum. And I'll never forget, the cars drove up on the rostrum, and it was 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and $100,000. And I looked over, and it was smoke starting to come out of the engine bay. And I thought, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a bit of a problem. And I'll never forget. I don't know what possessed me, but I thought it all worked out quite well. We're at $100,000. There is always a fire extinguisher by the rostrum. I collected the fire extinguisher, opened the bonnet, have a quick spray just to make sure nothing was going on. Fire the smoke stopped, put the bonnet down, go back to the rostrum, and we ended up selling it for $150,000.
How extraordinary.
The bidding went on. I did have to promise to the buyer that we would get it fixed after the auction.
I suppose that's the definition of a value sale, isn't it?
Talk about exactly. I thought, oh well, this is over. But no, I appreciate everyone wants to hear about the multi-million-dollar cars, but I thought that was quite the moment with the fire on the rostrum and the car selling anyway.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so you do have a little bit of fun, but probably, to be fair, one of the most memorable moments is. And I know it's for a number of reasons. The Nart Spider, one, because it was one of the most valuable cars that we had ever sold. There was great excitement in the room. We were bidding. It starts at $15 million in 16 and 20 and 22, 24, and we bid it up to 20, 25, and then $27 million for the 275 Nart Spider. But the best thing for me was this bidding was over, and of course it's always exciting when you sell a very valuable car at auction. But the car came from a deceased estate, and the family of the owner was there, and he was an orphan, and they were donating all the money from the sale of that car, which he had bought new, to charity, to orphanages in America. Wow. And I have to say, the sale went down. They never expected to have such a huge result. And I looked over, and there was the owner's son and his daughter in the room, and they looked at me, and in a room, don't forget, in Monterey, of 1,000 people in the room, and we just sort of crossed the gaze, looked eyes, and I have to say, I almost had to take a moment, because I was going to almost start crying, because it was such an emotional thing, and all the money was going to charity, and that's something that, forget the price, but just the emotion afterwards was amazing. Normally it's like when the hammer goes down, but there it was something that was amazing afterwards. And I got so many thank yous afterwards for helping raise so much money for the orphanages, which is great.
That's almost the definition of custodianship, isn't it? If ultimately the sale monies go to a good cause. I mean, that's an extraordinary story.
Yeah. Extraordinary. And one of the things that they were saying to me is that when he bought the car new, as you know, or you may not know, Steve McQueen had a Nart Spider, a 275 Nart Spider new, and Steve McQueen wanted one right away. This was the first Nart Spider in America, and he called this owner, and when 1967, and he said, how about your Nart Spider? I want to buy it from you. This is Steve McQueen. And this guy turned around on the phone. The story goes to Steve McQueen and says, Steve, I love my car and I love you, but I love my car more than I love you. So I'm not selling you my Nart Spider. And good thing he didn't, because that raised a lot of money for the orphanages.
Absolutely. Just speaking of auctions, one thing that has emerged, I think, quite strongly in the last year or so is that we're seeing an accelerating uptake of online auction platforms, and they seem to be gaining market share, and especially with COVID,
phenomenal,
for
isn't it?
reasons. Yeah, it's and you see it all the time now. I think a lot of media platforms and so on, everyone's trying to move into the auction game. What's your assessment on that shift that we've seen? I mean, it's not just the last years, the last couple of years. I think it's been growing. How do you think the incumbent auctions have fared and adopted in the face of what is effectively more competition?
Well, you know what, the dynamic guys, and I really take my hat off to RM Sotheby's, because they were first to adopt, or to adapt, I should say, the online platform. And I have to say, for someone like for RM Sotheby's, they've adapted to the online, and they sell online really, really well, and they seem to be doing a great. I take my hat off to them. They're doing a great job. They were straight onto it, very dynamic. But there are also a lot of new platforms that are created and exist. I mean, I think, look, but selling at auctions it's a good system, isn't it? It's sort of it means that there is a defined time to it. But I do notice one thing that is very interesting. Although there is a huge number of online platforms now and more cars going online, the quality, if you look at the quality of the online auctions compared to the quality of do we call them traditional auctions? Live auctions. It's day and night. If you look at the level of cars that are being sold, the volume is huge, but there isn't those multi-million-dollar, there's a few, of course, but there isn't very many multi-million-dollar sales of very important cars. No, the important cars of this world are now actually moving away from the auctions, because there are no no live auctions, and are being sold privately, because there is no Monterey, there is no Amelia Island. I mean, the big collectors who may have considered auctions in the past will not put their short wheelbase on an online sale or their GTO. Having said that, for the lower value cars, that's amazing.
And provenance and research comes into it as well, I think, because of course a lot of the issues with some of these platforms is that, if you're buying something of extremely high value, you need to know what it is, where it's from, who's owned it, and so on. And I think, especially in your day job, I think that probably takes up quite a lot of your time researching that kind of thing.
Absolutely, huge amount of time, and we actually it's something we're very, very passionate about researching the cars, and I mean, we haven't even announced this yet, but we've perhaps maybe we've gone overboard. I don't know. I'll tell you the news that we haven't announced to anyone yet, but we've actually just bought, for example, a photo archive of over 3 million photos of cars, racing, motor shows. That goes back, spans sort of 50 years of motoring history, to have our own archive, so that we can do, because we put so much importance on the history of these cars, and to us it can add lots of value to buyers. Unfortunately, sometimes you do find out things that you wish you didn't know. But you know what? You best know it before than have a problem afterwards.
Yeah, I suppose.
There is good and bad.
Welcome to classic cars.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of that, I mean, if we get into cars a bit, what in your opinion makes a modern classic? I know it's a frequently used phrase. Is there anything out there in the market now that strikes you as maybe a future modern classic?
Oh gosh, future modern. I mean, modern classic. that's a car that is going to become collectible, right? That's a car that
Yes.
people are going to collect in the future. If we knew all the modern classics, then maybe that's the ones that everyone would be buying. But at the end of the day, it's a really interesting question because no one really knows. Look at I'll give you an example. Look at the McLaren F1. When it was new, they struggled to sell it. I mean, they really struggled to sell it. That's why there was relatively speaking so few. Yet today, it's one of the most desirable. It's one of the most desirable post-war cars in the world. I'm not saying the most, but one of for sure. We could argue which one is the one. So a car that's not desirable today, might be something that in the future you think, that's imagine I could have bought that for nothing, or no one wanted them new, and things change. I mean, few modern classics, if you want the cheating route to get there, go for a brand. Think of a brand that everyone knows. Think of a car that's got something special about it, good performance, low production numbers, and you're probably onto a good thing already. That's the easy way to get it. Then whether there's sort of obscure cars and everyone has opinions. I mean, I have so many people on the phone every day trying to convince me why this is a great car in the future or so on. There's one that maybe it's you're going to say, oh, that's already a super desirable car. But one car that I always think has got a great future value is a Ferrari, a 599 Aperta. So the GTO with the 599 GTO with no roof. There's only 80 of them in the world, and Ferrari's never going to make a limited run of cars like that again. 80 is tiny for Ferrari production. 12 cylinders, great performance, open roof. Today, it's still a valuable car, but it's probably a little bit overlooked. But maybe we'll do a podcast in 5 years and we'll see if I got it right or not. Maybe make it 10. Give me a bit longer.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the F1 as well. It's Gordon Murray continuing to weave his magic. That he's created more of a buzz around that model than there was before, purely because he continues to do great things and people start to recognize the name and so on. So it's interesting how that car has become much more popular as a result.
And people that didn't know about it and have now learned about it, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Maybe they weren't going to be buying one, but I'm sure that because of the T50, there's a lot more people that have learned and read about and studied a McLaren F1 than there ever was.
And then looking at the Le Mans victories and so on.
There we go. Exactly right. Sporting history and so on. The other car that he keeps referring to is a Honda NSX. I don't know if there's going to be a spike in prices in Honda NSXs because I've watched lots of interviews and he keeps talking about how great the Honda NSX was. So I wonder if there's going to be a rush for NSXs as well.
I'm still waiting for LJK Setright's opinion about the Honda Prelude to
Prelude
to boost price on those. So aside from your day job, you've done a fair amount of racing, I think, in everything from Renault Clios to Ferraris, from the Nürburgring to Goodwood to rallying. What are your most memorable racing moments? And is the Max Girado of the racetrack different to the Max Girado of the auction room?
Probably. Is he different? No, probably not. And it's probably that's why I never. Probably not that fast at the end of the day. Because I'm probably not aggressive enough in a race car. I should probably be more aggressive. What do I memorable moments? I tell you what, and you're gonna think really a Renault Clio, but the Nürburgring 24 hours in a Renault Clio when we came second in our class. And don't get me wrong, second in our class means that we were probably about 200th overall. I don't know what we were overall, the very bottom of the grid. But to go to the Nürburgring to do a 24-hour race with friends, which is the best bit. You get to the end of the race. I was lucky enough to be chosen for the last stint. You are so tired, sort of just almost not thinking straight because you're so tired after a 24-hour race, and to cross the line with all the bumps and crashes and bits and pieces over the course of a 24-hour race. I thought that was it's if anyone ever has a chance to go do endurance racing, to me, it's so much fun. It's so much you get so many emotions, and the best bit is you go away with 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, people together, and you all sharing the car. So it's real sort of bonding experience. It's a real team effort. So I do say that is something I love.
We had Jim Glickenhaus on the Apex a while ago, and he obviously loves endurance racing at Nürburgring, and he was kind of comparing it to, Woodstock. It's basically, it's like a festival. I think that really bonds people together in a way that you maybe don't see on a windy day at a Baron Silverstone for a club race.
Exactly right. And it's still, to me, the Nürburgring is still one of the best. It's still the wild west in that GT3 cars, Renault Clios, everything goes. You're all on track together. 200 cars at the start. What is it, like 300, 400, 500 people watching? It's just, there's an atmosphere like no other. Like it's just a magical at night, fireworks going, bonfires. I promise you, when they start all the barbecues, when you're going around and coming off to the straight, I swear you can smell the sausages, the bratwurst when you're in the car, and you think, oh, wow, right.
It just propels you on. Yeah,
it just propels you on. Can't wait for the stop now.
So speaking of racing, I think you also own a treasured Lancia Stratos. Is that right? Does that?
I do, absolutely. Yeah. We have a Group 4. I've got a Group 4. I do have a soft spot for racing cars on the track or on rallies. But yeah, I've got a Group 4 Stratos. We just took it to Goodwood Speedway, which was great fun because they did a rally stage.
It was at night, wasn't it? It was a night race.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah. We got the, I don't know if we got the prize, but we certainly got the most praise for the best sounding rally car. We got straight pipes on the Group 4 Stratos. It is good actually. It's difficult to say because it's my own car, but it is good. It's really good.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it was wonderful to watch it. I think it was a really special moment for Goodwood, and all circumstances considered, those cars looked incredible. I thought we're coming up to the end of our time now, so I've just got some quick fire questions to end with. Right. So first one is, what's the car that you have in stock at the moment which you'd most like to take out for a spirited drive?
Well, it's not quite in stock, but I can let you into a little secret that I do have a McLaren F1 GTR about 10 feet away from me. And I tell you what, and it's sunny today, that's the car to take.
That is, wow.
Le Mans history, GTR, high downforce kit, obviously, and you can still drive it on the road because it's road registered. McLaren
Perfect
F1.
For Fulham. Perfect. So my next question was your favorite racing track.
Nürburgring, no doubt about it. Nürburgring, most exciting. I like undulations. I like a million corners. I've got great memories there. Nürburgring, Nordschleife, very important. Nordschleife. Yes.
That's interesting because a lot of people on this podcast have said Spa, but I personally as well, I think the Nürburgring just is the ultimate.
Also reminds me of a bit of a rally stage, and I do love rallies.
Yeah, so. It's wonderful. And last question, your all-time favorite road or racing car, but you're only allowed one.
Gosh, I thought you said this was a quick fire question. What kind of question is that? That's like that's impossible to
It's a terrible choice to make. I know. Okay. You can have more than one. That's fine.
It's a terrible choice. It'll depend on which day of the week you catch me on which if it's sunny, if it's not sunny. But I can tell you. And it's a car that I'll never, ever own. And it sounds so cliche. But again, I have such memories of driving it, hot laps for a charity event at Thruxton of all places, up the hill at Goodwood. And you're going to say, oh, that's what everyone says, but a Ferrari 250 GTO. But I would have a 64 car, which maybe is getting a bit technical.
Oh.
64 bodied Ferrari 250 GTO, probably because I'll never own one. I'll never be able to afford one. And as I said, I spent a week with a car and it's still in my mind.
Well, that's a fantastic choice to end out on.
Thanks.
Max, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem at all.
And good luck in the future. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.